Will the Senate please come to order? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Aquino, Senator Awa,
Here.
Senator Chang, Senator DeCoit,
Here.
Senator Dela Cruz, Senator Elefante,
Here.
Senator Favela, Senator Fukunaga, Senator Gabbard, Senator Ihara,
Excused.
Senator Inoue,
Present.
Senator Kanuha, Senator Keith Agaran, Senator Keohoka Lole, Senator Kidani, Senator Kim, Senator Lee, Senator McKelvey,
Aye.
Senator Moriwaki, Senator Rhodes, Senator Richards, Senator San Buenaventura, Senator Shimabukuro, Senator Wakai. Mr. President,
Present.
24 present, 1 excused.
Thank you. The chair has read the journal of the preceding day and approves the same. Are there any introductions today? Senator Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've already met Elijah Ebert, the newest addition of our staff. He's an intern, and it's not bad for his second day on the job, I would say. Next to him is Sydney Warren, who's also an intern, and one of my legislative assistants, Audrey Stelkup. If you could give them a round of applause. Mahalo.
Any further introductions? If not, Madam Clerk.
Governor's message number 679 withdraws a nomination to the Correctional Industries Advisory Committee.
File.
On pages 2 through 4, House Communication number 801 informs the Senate that the House has appointed conferees to various House bills.
File.
On page 4, House Communication number 802 to 804 return Senate concurrent resolutions that were adopted in the House in an amended form for agree, disagree.
Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate disagree to the amendments proposed by the House to the Senate concurrent resolutions referenced in House Communications numbers 802 to 804.
Senator DeCoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. Conferees will be named at a later date.
On pages 5 to 11, House Communication numbers 805 to 825 return Senate concurrent resolutions which were adopted in the House unamended.
File.
On pages 11 and 12, Standing Committee Report numbers 1911 to 1913 for one-day notice.
So ordered.
On page 12, Advise and Consent.
If there are no objections from the members, we will be taking advice and consent on consent.
Standing Committee Report number 1908 on Governor's Message number 567, which was withdrawn by the Governor yesterday.
Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I move to file Standing Committee Report number 1908.
Senator DeCoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. The clerk is directed to file Standing Committee Report number 1908 and place the same in the journal.
Standing Committee Report number 1909 on Governor's Message number 552 for adoption.
If there are no objections from the members on SSCR 1909 GM 552, there are still members who have not had an opportunity to meet with the nominee, and I would like to defer this to Friday. Hearing no objections, so ordered.
On page 13 and 14, Adoption of Resolutions, Standing Committee Report numbers 1903 to 1907 and 1910 for adoption.
Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of Standing Committee Reports numbers 1903 to 1907 and 1910.
Senator DeCoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. Said resolutions have been adopted. I'm sorry I went so fast. So we are on the Did you have discussion, Senator Favela?
Not on the resolution.
Not on this.
Not
Next
on the
item.
resolution. Okay.
Final reading.
Okay.
Said resolutions have been adopted.
Sorry about that. Beginning on page 14, final reading.
If there are no objections from the members, we will be taking final reading on consent.
Final reading of Senate Bill 45, House Draft 2, relating to minors.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
23 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 45HD2 passes final reading.
Final reading of Senate Bill 406, House Draft 2, relating to child visitation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Favela. Any no votes? No vote, Senator Awa.
23 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 406 HD2 passes final reading.
On page 15, final reading of Senate Bill 415, House Draft 2, relating to wages.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
23 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 415 HD2 passes final reading.
Final reading of Senate Bill 671, House Draft 1, relating to health.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
24 ayes.
Thank you. SB 671 HD1 passes final reading.
Final reading of Senate Bill 989, House Draft 2, relating to unmanned aircraft systems.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no vote? Reservation, Senator Favela.
24 ayes.
Thank you. SB 989 HD2 passes final reading.
Final reading of Senate Bill 1173, House Draft 2, relating to vehicles.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
23 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 1173 HD2 passes final reading.
Final reading of Senate Bill 1505, House Draft 2, relating to transportation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
24 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1505 HD2 passes final reading.
Referrals and re-referrals.
Referrals and re-referrals are made in accordance with the supplemental orders of the day, which may be filed later today.
Beginning on page 16, miscellaneous business, reconsideration of disagreement to House amendments and motions to agree. Senate Bill 739, House Draft 1, relating to desecration. Senate Bill 911, House Draft 1, relating to jurors. Senate Bill 1267, House Draft 1, relating to protective orders. And Senate Bill 1541, House Draft 1, relating to voting more than once during an election.
Senator Rhodes.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate reconsider its previous action in disagreeing to the amendments made by the House to SB 739, SB 911 SD1, SB 1267 SD1, and SB 1541, and agree to said amendments.
Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Senator Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. President. On SB 739, which has to do with desecration, all that the House did was change the state of mind from knowingly to intentionally or knowingly, which I think is a good addition considering the subject matter of the bill. SB 911, this is allowing former felons to serve on jury duty, and serve on jury duty once they've completely fulfilled the terms of their sentence, probation, parole, everything. The House used an existing definition of that term, a fully completed term, instead of the one that we had put in there to start with, and it's a perfectly legitimate way to, a perfectly good definition for the purposes of that bill. SB 1267, non-residents applying for protective orders, that was tech amendments only, so no problem there. And SB 1541, voting, which would make it so you could only vote once, so you can't vote in Hawaii and in California in the same election. That again was technical amendments only. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. One-day notice is hereby given for final reading of SB 739 HD1, SB 911 HD1, SB 1267 HD1, and SB 1541 HD1.
Senate Bill 1311, House Draft 1, relating to the repeal of Act 192 Session Laws of Hawaii 2007. Senate Bill 1314, House Draft 1, relating to the Hawaii Employer Union Health Benefits Trust Fund Spousal Medicare Part B Premium Reimbursement. And on page 17, Senate Bill 1315, House Draft 1, relating to the Hawaii Employer Union Health Benefits Trust Fund Medicare Part B premium reimbursement.
Senator Moriwaki.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate reconsider its previous action in disagreeing to the amendments made by the House to Senate Bill 1311, Senate Draft 2, Senate Bill 1314, Senate Draft 2, and Senate Bill 1315, Senate Draft 2, and agree to said amendments.
Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Senator Moriwaki.
Yes, there is no substantive difference between the Senate and House versions aside from effective dates in Senate Bill 13 and Senate Bill 1350.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. One-day notice is hereby given for final reading of SB 1311 HD1, SB 1314 HD1, and SB 1315 HD1.
No further business, Mr. President.
Are there any announcements today? Senator Kim.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I just want to bring to attention to this body, if you haven't watched American Idol, you really need to do that because we have our own local boy from Kahuku, 18-year-old, I am Tongi. Amazing. He made it to the top 26. He is the only Hawaii contestant to make it this far, and they're going to start cutting. So if you watch, and unlike the measure that you can only vote once, in American Idol you can vote 10 times per candidate. So I urge you folks to let families and friends know because if you haven't watched it, he's amazing. Kind of reminds me of Iz, but very emotional and very, very talented. So I think we really need to get behind our own and we need to support him. All of Hawaii, we're small. Other states, we're voting for their candidates, so we really got to make sure we vote for him. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Kim. I appreciate you working in such a bipartisan way in support of this young man. Any further announcements? If not, the chair has one. There will be a leadership meeting immediately after we adjourn today. Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Senator Decoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. If there are no objections from the members, we will stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. tomorrow.